जय राधा माधव जय कुंज। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर श्री राधे जय राधा। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम कृष्ण बलराम। जय गौरा निताय जय गौरा निताय गौरा निताय जय गौरा निताय जय गौरा निताय। जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय श्रील प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले सोऽयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So today we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3. This is text 36. So text 36 was read. प्राणेन्द्रियाणि च यथा नलमर्चिषश्वाः शब्दोऽपि बोधकनिषेधतयात्ममूल मर्थोक्तमाह यदृतेन निषेधसिद्धिः। नैतन्मनो विशति वागुतचक्षुरात्मा प्राणेन्द्रियाणि च यथा नलमर्चिषश्वाः शब्दोऽपि बोधकनिषेधतयात्ममूलम् अर्थोक्तमाह यदृतेन निषेध सिद्धिः नैतन्मनो विशति वागुत चक्षुरात्मा प्राणेन्द्रियाणि च यथा नलमर्चिषश्वा शब्दोऽपि बोधक निषेधतयात्ममूल अर्थोक्तमाह यदृतेन निषेध सिद्धिः नैतन्मनो विशति वागुत चक्षुरात्मा प्राणेन्द्रियाणि शब्दोऽपि बोधक निषेधतयात्ममूलम् अर्थोक्तमाह यदृतेन निषेध सिद्धिः नैतन्मनो विशति वागुत चक्षुरात्मा प्राणेन्द्रियाणि च यथा नलमर्चिषश्वा शब्दोऽपि बोधक निषेधतयात्ममूलम् अर्थोक्तमाह यदृतेन निषेध सिद्धिः न cannot etat this supreme truth manah the mind vishati enter vak the function of speech uta nor chakshuhu sight atma intelligence prana the subtle air supporting life indriyani the senses cha or yatha just as analam a fire archishah it sparks swah own shabdah the authoritative sound of the Vedas api even bodhakah being able to indicate by verbal reference nishedhataya because of denying such atma of the supreme soul moolam basic evidence arthoktam expressed indirectly aha does express yadrite without which no there is not nishedha of the negative statements of the scriptures siddhihi ultimate purpose. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Translation: neither the mind nor the faculties of speech, sight, intelligence, the life air or any of the senses are capable of penetrating the supreme truth any more than small sparks can affect the original fire from which they are generated. Not even the authoritative language of the Vedas can perfectly describe the supreme truth, since the Vedas themselves disclaim the possibility that the truth can be expressed by words. But through indirect reference, the Vedic sound does serve as evidence of the supreme truth, since without the existence of that supreme truth, the various restrictions found in the Vedas would have no ultimate purpose. Purport: the small sparks generated by blazing fire having no power to illuminate the original fire, nor can they burn it. The quantity of heat and light in the original fire is always superior to the quantity found in the insignificant sparks. Similarly, the minute living entity is generated from the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Janmadyasya Yataha, and Bhagavad Gita, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo Mamaivanshu Jivaloke Jiva Bhutah Sanatana. The minute living entities, being Anshaha or sparks of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, can never equal the Supreme Godhead in the quantity of their potency. The quantity of knowledge and bliss in the Supreme Personality of Godhead is always superior. Therefore, when a foolish conditioned soul tries to illuminate the subject matter of the highest truth with his tiny brain, he merely illuminates his own foolishness. The Personality of Godhead has personally spoken Bhagavad Gita, which is the blazing fire of the perfect knowledge that burns to ashes the insignificant speculations and theories of so-called philosophers and scientists regarding the ultimate truth. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Hrishikesha, or the Lord of everyone's senses, because the Personality of Godhead has supreme seeing power, hearing power, touching power, smelling power and tasting power. The living entities in a limited sense can also see, hear, touch, smell and taste by the mercy of Hrishikesha. This idea is expressed in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Pranasya pranam uta chakshusha chakshur uta shrotasya shrotam annasyannam manaso ye mano viduhu. The Supreme Truth is understood to be the life air sustaining everyone's life air, the vision of everyone's eyes, the hearing power of the ear and the sustenance of food itself. The obvious conclusion is that the Supreme Truth can be known by His own causeless mercy and not by our foolish attempts to bring the all-pervading truth within the insignificant boundaries of our intelligence. It is stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. The descriptive power of speech fails in the realm of the Supreme Truth, and the speculative power of the mind cannot achieve him. But because such statements of Vedic Shrutis are in themselves descriptions of the Absolute Truth, one may consider such Vedic statements contradictory. Therefore, in this connection it is stated, Shabdopi bodhaka nishedha tayatma moolam arthoktam aha. Although the Vedic Shrutis forbid us to speculate upon the Absolute Truth, such restrictive injunctions indirectly constitute positive assertions of the existence of the Supreme Living Entity. In fact, the Vedic restrictions are meant to save one from the false path of mental speculation and ultimately bring one to the point of devotional surrender. As Lord Krishna himself stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedya. By all the Vedic literatures, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to be known. The assertion that a particular process, such as mental speculation, is useless, yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha, constitute an indirect assertion of the existence of a correct path of achieving the Supreme. As Srila Sridhar Swamipad has stated, Sarvasya nishedhasya savadhitvat. Every negative injunction is understood to have a specific limit. Negative injunctions cannot be taken as applicable in all cases. For example, a negative injunction is that no living entity can be equal to or greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Srimad Bhagavatam clearly states that because of the intense love of the residents of Vrindavan for Krishna, they sometimes assume a superior position. Thus, Mother Yashoda binds Krishna with ropes, and the influential cowherd boys sometimes ride on the shoulders of Krishna or defeat him in wrestling. Negative injunctions therefore may sometimes be adjusted according to the transcendental situation. Although the Absolute Truth is transcendental to the material creation and therefore beyond the scope of material senses, when those same material senses are saturated with love of Godhead, they become spiritualized and empowered to perceive the Absolute Truth. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santah Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shyama Sundaram Achinta Gunaswarupam Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda, who is always seen by the devotee whose eyes are anointed with the pulp of love. He is seen in his eternal form of Shyamasundar within the heart of a devotee. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Na tumam sakhyase drashtum anenaiva svachakshusa divyam dadami te chakshu pashyame yogamaishwaram. But you cannot see me with your present eyes, therefore I give you divine eyes by which you can behold my mystic opulence. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam describes many incidents in which the Supreme Absolute Truth revealed himself to his devotee, as in the histories of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj, Kardam Muni, the Pandavas and the Gopis. Therefore, the Vedic assertions that the Absolute Truth is beyond the power of the eyes to refer to those who have not received transcendental eye by the mercy of the personality of Godhead. But the Lord's own transcendental senses, which are the source of our limited senses, are confirmed in the Shrutis as in the following statements of the Kena Upanishad. Yad vachanabhya uditam yena vag abhyudyate tad eva brahma tvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Brahma, the Absolute, should be understood to be that which cannot be ascertained by the material power of speech. Speech itself is evinced by the Supreme Truth. By the statement, Yena vag abhyudyate, our power of speech is expressed by the Absolute Truth. It is clearly expressed that the Absolute Truth has his own transcendental senses. Therefore, he is called Hrishikesha. Sri Narad Muni has stated, Hrishikena Hrishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. Our senses cannot approach the Absolute Truth by their own power, but when engaged in loving devotional service to satisfy the Lord of the senses, our limited senses must become connected with the Lord's unlimited senses, and thus by the Lord's mercy he can be understood. Srila Madhvacharya has quoted the following statement from the Brahmatarka. Anando Nedrishananda ityukte lokatah param pratibhati na chabhati yathavad darshanam vina. The transcendental bliss of Absolute Truth cannot be compared to the ordinary happiness of material world. Similarly, in the Vedanta Sutra, the Absolute Truth is described as Anandamaya or full of bliss. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in this verse, Sri Pippalayan is more or less describing the impersonal feature of the Absolute Truth. The 9 Yogendras were themselves devotees of the personal feature of the Lord. So King Nimi asked his question about the different features of the Absolute Truth to clarify that the personality of Godhead is the source of all variegated aspects of the Advai Jnana or transcendental reality. This is also expressed by the following statements in the Shruti. Tam tu Aupanishadam Purusham Prichhami. I am inquiring about that supreme person revealed in the Upanishads. If the Absolute Truth were actually inaccessible by words, there would be no meaning to the Vedas Vedic literatures, which consist of collection of transcendental words. Since the Vedic descriptions of the truth are to be taken as infallible, it is impossible to maintain that the power of speech in all cases unable to is in all cases unable to describe the truth. After all, the Vedic mantras themselves are meant to be spoken and heard. Therefore, the injunction that neither the mind nor speech can approach the supreme truth, Naitan Mano Vishati Vaguta, cannot be taken as applicable in all cases. Rather, it is a warning to those who foolishly try to encompass the Absolute Truth by their own puny speculative powers. Since the Vedic injunction, either positive or negative, are to be taken as realistic descriptions of the Absolute Truth, the process of hearing and repeating Vedic knowledge, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, can be understood as a separate process in which one's hearing and speaking power becomes spiritualized by submissive reception of the transcendental knowledge. This process depends upon one's faith in the bona fide spiritual master, who is a devotee of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it is stated, Yasya deve parabhaktir yatha deve tatha gurau tasyaite kathitahyartha prakashante mahatmanah. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. As the Lord himself states in the Harivansha, Tat Param Paramam Brahma Sarvam Vibhajate Jagat Mamaiva Tad Gnam Tejo Gyatum Arahasi Bharata. That supreme truth, Parabrahma, expands itself into all the variegatedness of this universe. You should know it to be my own concentrated effulgence. O Bharata, the words Gyatum Arhasi, you must know it, spoken by the Lord himself, indicate that the absolute truth is to be known, but one must surrender to the truth rather than waste time in foolish speculation. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has pointed out that according to authorized statements of Vedic literature, the Lord's transcendental form is understood to be Brahmamaya or completely spiritual with no trace of material contamination. Therefore, in such statements as Nilotpala Dala Shyama, the Lord's form is beautifully manifested with the hue of dark blue lotus petals. It is understood that a transcendental dark blue color is being described. Still, the Lord is inconceivably merciful to his devotees, even those on the neophyte platform who are trying to come to the state of love of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord gradually purifies the senses of a conditioned soul who is trying to understand him, and eventually the Lord appears before such a rectified servitor. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Prakrit Nilotpala Varnatvena Bhaktair Dhyatam Atadrisham Api. In the beginning, being conditioned by the previous materialistic activities, a devotee meditating on the Lord's transcendental form may base his meditation on his experience of material forms and colors within this world. The Lord's transcendental form has nothing to do with material forms and colors, but since the object of this meditation is Krishna, such meditation will eventually be transformed into transcendental experience of the actual form, color, activities, pastimes, and entourage of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, transcendental knowledge depends not on material logic, but on the pleasure of the Personality of Godhead. If the Lord, pleased by his devotees' sincere attempt to understand him, the Lord can immediately circumvent all the so-called technicalities of material logic and Vedic injunction and reveal himself to his pure devotees. Unless one accepts this omnipotency of personality of Godhead, there is no hope of approaching the absolute truth. Therefore, it is stated in the Katha Upanishad, Drishyate tu agraya buddhya. The absolute truth is seen by the transcendental intelligence. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has pointed out that knowledge acquired through the interaction of the material senses with the modes of nature is merely hypothetical and not factual. Empirical knowledge deals with our ephemeral experience of the sense objects generated by material nature. For example, there are many wars currently going on because of false concept of nationalism. Similarly, there is a conflict throughout the world and the great world leaders fight like cats and dogs for the economic development of their countries. Thus, material language is used to designate temporary objects perceived by the eyes, nose, tongue, touch and taste. This type of language and experience is useless for approaching the absolute truth, but the transcendental sound from the spiritual sky has a completely different effect. We should not foolishly try to use materially concocted language to include the Supreme Personality of Godhead as an object of the material world. The Supreme Lord is completely transcendental and is known as Atma Prakash or self-manifested. Therefore, as stated in the Padma Puran, Atah Sri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriyai sevan mukhe jivvadau swayameva spuratyadaha. Material senses cannot appreciate Krishna's holy name, form, qualities and pastimes. But when a conditioned soul is awakened to Krishna consciousness and renders service by using his tongue to chant the Lord's holy name and taste the remnants of Lord's food, the tongue is purified and one gradually comes to understand who Krishna really is. If one surrenders to the Supreme Lord, taking shelter at his lotus feet, one's spiritualized senses gradually become empowered to perceive the Lord. Mere empiricism and material logic have a limited jurisdiction within the external energy of the Supreme Lord and cannot apply to those things which are eternal. In this regard, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has quoted the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. Naisham matis tavad urukramangrim sparshatyanarthopagamo yadarthah mahiyasam pad rajobhishekam nishkinchananam na vrinita yavat. Unless they smear upon their bodies the dust of the lotus feet of Vaishnav completely freed from material contamination, persons very much inclined towards materialistic life cannot be attached to the lotus feet of the Lord, who is glorified for his uncommon activities. Only by becoming Krishna conscious and taking shelter at the lotus feet of Lord in this way, one can be freed from material contamination. Although Sri Pippalayan is expressing that the absolute truth cannot be approached by material senses, the sage himself is describing the absolute truth with transcendental senses. And King Nimi is able to understand this transcendental sound because he has surrendered at the lotus feet of pure devotees, the Navayogendras. Therefore, one should not foolishly try to understand this verse out of context in an impersonal way, but should follow the example of King Nimi, who was trying to understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ultimately the source of everything. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Hare Krishna. It's a very long purport and very interesting purport also. I mean, if we start discussing purport section by section, it will take an hour even to understand what is being spoken. So, let's go back and try to see where this verse has been spoken and why this verse is so philosophical in nature that the disciples of Prabhupada have to use 7 pages to explain it and make us understand why it is important to understand these qualities of Supreme Lord that is being described in this verse. So, you see, we are reading Canto 11, Chapter 3. From Chapter 2, Nimi Maharaj has asked several questions to the Navyogendras. The first question Nimi Maharaj asked was about the Bhagavad Dharma. What is the nature of Bhagavad Dharma? Then he asked another question which was regarding the Mahabhagavatas, the devotees who follow Bhagavad Dharma, who practice Bhagavad Dharma, what is their nature? So this was the second question he asked. The third question Nimi Maharaj asked that what is the nature of the illusory potency of the Lord? That is being described in the 3rd chapter of this 11th canto. So from the first verse, Nimi Maharaj in the first verse in the 3rd chapter has asked about the nature of the illusory potency of the Lord. Till 16th verse, the illusory potency of the Lord is described by the Navyogendras. Then in the 17th verse of this chapter, again a question is asked by Nimi Maharaj. What is that question? Nimi Maharaj asks a question that after understanding how vast this illusory potency of the Lord is and how difficult it is to overcome this illusory potency of the Lord, he asked a question that how can a conditioned soul very easily cross over this illusory potency which is insurmountable? How can he cross it very easily? From the verse 18 till verse 32, Navyogendras have described the process of bhakti. So, if I remember, we had discussed one verse from that maybe 2 weeks back, and we described that how Sri Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbha, he shares that there are 3 processes or 3 levels of bhakti. The first level of bhakti is the Aropa Siddha Bhakti, the second is Sanga Siddha Bhakti, and the first is Swarupa Siddha Bhakti. So in this section, from verse 18 to verse 32, the Navyogendras have described 2 processes, the Sanga Siddha Bhakti and Swarupa Siddha Bhakti. First they describe what is helpful in performing bhakti, like Jnana and Vairagya. The processes that are helpful in performing bhakti, Jnana and Vairagya, that is described initially. And then he goes on to describe the direct process of bhakti, which is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. The 9 processes, beginning with Shravan, Kirtan and Smaran, the 3 pillars of the Swarup Siddha Bhakti, which gives direct perfection and direct realization of the absolute truth. So that has been described till verse 33. In verse 34, Nimi Maharaj again asks a question. Now what is verse 34? We'll just go back because this is verse 36. This is answer to Nimi Maharaj's this question. What is Nimi Maharaj asking? Before we go to verse 34, let's look at what is the last verse that Navayogendras have used to answer Nimi Maharaj's initial question, which was how a living entity, a conditioned soul, can very easily overcome Maya. What is the last verse that he has used? He says, Iti bhagavatan dharman sikshan bhaktya taduthaya narayana paro maya manja tarati dustaram. He says, Iti bhagavatan dharman sikshan bhaktya taduthaya narayana paro maya manja tarati dustaram. He says this maya is dustaram. It is insurmountable. But one can cross it. How can one cross it? He says, by understanding the Bhagavad Dharma that has been described previously, by understanding the process of bhakti, by understanding the process of Bhagavad Dharma, and because of understanding Bhagavad Dharma, the bhakti will rise in heart. Because of that understanding, bhakti rises in the heart, and because of that bhakti, surrendering completely to the Supreme Lord Narayan, by surrendering completely to the Supreme Lord Narayan, one can cross over the insurmountable Maya very easily. This is the answer he is giving. So the answer is, understanding the Bhagavad Dharma generates or increases bhakti in the heart of the sadhaka. Bhakti towards whom? Bhakti towards Lord Narayana. And by that bhakti one crosses the insurmountable Maya very easily. This is the answer, this is a conclusion of Prabuddha who is speaking and answering the question of Nimi Maharaj that how can one cross Maya. So the very next question Nimi Maharaj asks, that you are talking about Narayan, please tell me who is Narayan. So this is the question that is being asked. In 34th verse, Sri Raja Uvacha, Nimi Maharaj, the king is asking, Narayana abhidhanasya brahmana paramatmana nistham arahata no vaktum yuyam hi brahmavittamah. He says, oh dear Navayogendras, you are brahmavittama. Brahmavittama means you have realized the Supreme Lord directly. You know the absolute truth. You have realized it, you have practiced it, you are experienced in it, and therefore please tell me that that absolute truth who is known by the name of Narayan, who is also known by the name of Brahma, and who is also known by the name of Paramatma, what is the Swarupa of Narayan, Brahma and Paramatma? So this is the question that is being asked. What is the form or what is the nature of the absolute truth who is known by the name of Narayan, Brahma and Paramatma? In answer to this question, these verses are being spoken. So it's very philosophical. You see, Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a very famous verse that Srila Prabhupada would always use. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yadgyanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. This is a very famous verse of Bhagavatam. And it's very philosophical. It's so philosophical that Srila Jiva Goswami wrote 6 sandarbhas just to explain this one verse. He's actually delineating and describing this one verse in the 6 sandarbhas. So it's a matter of great philosophy, this verse is. And the same is being spoken here. That Lord, that absolute truth, who is known by the name Narayan, who is also known by the name Brahma, and who is also known by the name Paramatma, please explain to me what is his Swarupa, what is his nature. That is the question that is being asked. So Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan. Why is he asking that? Because by knowing the Swarupa, by knowing the nature of Narayan, Brahma and Paramatma, one will be able to cross over Maya. He's not asking this question just out of the blue. No. Previously the answer has been given. By understanding Narayan, by doing bhakti towards Narayan, one can cross over insurmountable Maya. So he is asking what is the nature of Narayan. Why he is known by the three names Brahma, Paramatma and Narayan. Why one absolute truth has to be explained or has to be described by three names Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagwan. This is the question that is being asked. So first of all we understand the question. You see, it is very difficult to overcome Maya. In Bhagavatam, there is a very beautiful verse in the 5th canto where the demigods are praying to Lord Narayan and they say, Vadanti Vishwam Kavayasmanaswaram Pashyanti Chadhyatma Vido Vipashitaha Tathapi Muhyanti Tavad Mayaya Suvismitam Krityam Ajam Natosmitam. So they are praying, the demigods are praying to Lord and they are saying that my Lord, your Maya is very difficult to overcome. Vadanti Vishwam Kavayah Smanashwaram. It is difficult for normal living entities and conditioned souls like us. Yes, it is very difficult for us who are conditioned souls, but it is difficult even for the Kavis, even for the Rishis and even for the Munis and even for the demigods. So the demigods are saying that Vadanti Vishwam Kavaya Smanashwaram. There are Kavis, there are great souls, there are great Rishis and Munis who are always delineating on the material world. They are always describing, understanding, trying to see what is truth, what is untrue, what is Sat, what is Asat. They are always trying to see that this body is not Sat. This is going to die. Soul is eternal. They are always delineating, describing this principle. And they also realize it. They don't just speak it out. They don't just lecture it in the classes, saying that no, this world is temporary and outside they are eating outside food, doing sense enjoyment. So these rishis are not like that. They are speaking about the absolute truth. They are delineating on the Maya, on the illusory potency of the Lord, and they also realize it. They also see the illusory potency of the Lord by realizing it through the scriptures. Vadanti Vishwam Kavayah Smanashwaram Pashyanti Chadhyatma Vido Vipashchita. Vipashchita means somebody who is very intelligent, somebody who has spent a lot of time understanding the illusory potency of the Lord and understanding and realizing it and seeing it through the transcendental vision. They see it, and still, my Lord, Tathapi Muhyanti. They also get bewildered by your illusory potency. Tathapi Muhyanti Tavaj Mayaya Suvismitam Krityam Ajam Natosmeham. He says, Suvismitam Krityam. Oh Lord, you who are doing such bewildering activities, you bewilder even Brahma and Shiva. Oh my Lord, we just offer our respectful obeisances unto you. So you see, even the demigods have given us a way or pathway to overcome Maya. Nobody can cross Maya or illusory potency of the Lord just by understanding it, reading it, preaching it, giving lectures. One cannot overcome Maya. One can overcome Maya by practicing bhakti and surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord. And that's what the demigods are saying. And it is very important for us to understand who the Lord is, who that Supreme Personality of Godhead is. I mean, overall we understand the Lord who is Shyamasundar, who is Tribhanga Lalit, who is standing here in front of us, who is doing pastimes in Vrindavan, he is dear to his devotees, he protects his devotees, all that is fine. But we also have to understand his other features that are spoken there, Advaya Jnana Tattva. Bhagavatam says, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. What does it mean? It means the same absolute truth that we call as Bhagavan, who is known as Shyamasundar, who is dancing with the gopis in Vrindavan. That same Shyamasundar is also known by the name of Brahma and Paramatma. He is also known by this. So this is his feature, his manifestation. We should never think that Brahma, Paramatma and Shyamasundar and Bhagavan and Narayan are three different things. They are Advaya Jnana. Advaya means they are not two. Absolute truth is only one. So Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan are one. So Prabuddha is answering that. And he is saying that by understanding the three tattva, by understanding who Lord Narayan is, one will be able to do bhakti. You see, sometimes there is a question in the hearts of the devotees that since we already know that chanting of Hare Krishna Mahā Mantra, reading Bhagavatam is important, and we have already come to understand that the Supreme Lord is Sri Krishna, why there is need for so much discussion on the philosophy? Why there is need to discuss Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan and the three manifestations of the absolute truth? Why Bhagavatam is giving so many verses in describing all of this? That has been answered by Pippalayan in the first verse, or the king in this 34th verse. What is king saying? What is this king saying? He is saying Narayana abhidhanasya brahmana paramatmana. Not here, I'm sorry. In the 33rd verse he says, in the 33rd verse Prabuddha has said that iti bhagavatan dharman shikshan bhaktya taduthaya. This word is very important, taduthaya. What is the meaning of taduthaya? Arising from understanding of the Bhagavad Dharma. This is the meaning. So without understanding Bhagavad Dharma, bhakti will not arise in the heart. Or even if there is some bhakti in the heart, by understanding Bhagavad Dharma, bhakti will increase in the heart, and by that bhakti, one can overcome Maya. So it is very important for us to understand the Supreme Lord, understand the Bhagavad Dharma, and understand these three manifestations of the Lord, that is Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So this is what he is saying. So if somebody asks, the question directly asked by the king is that who is Narayan? Right? The question is, who is Narayan, who is also known by the name of Brahma and Paramatma? So direct answer could be, that who is Narayan? Narayan is that personality who sits in the milk ocean, who has four-handed form. He holds Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, Shiro Danvat Pradeshe Shuchimani Vilasat Saikatair Moktikanam, Mala Kripta Sanasthas Phatikamani Nibhair Moktikair Manditanga, Shubhrair Abhrair Adabhrair Upari Virachitair Mukta Piyusha Varshair, Anandina Puniya Darinalina Gada Shankhapanir Mukundaha, Bhupado Yasanabhir Vyadasura Nilashandra Suryaucha Netre Karnavasha, Shirodyor Mukhamapi Dahano Yasya Vasteyam Abdihi, Antastham Yasya Vishwam, Suranarakaga Gobhogi Gandharva Daiter, Chitram Ram Ramyate Tam Tribhuvana Vapusham Vishnumisham Namami. The direct answer could be Shashankha Chakram Sakirita Kundalam Sapita Vastram Sarasiru Hekshanam Sahara Vakshas Thirakostubha Shriyam Namami Vishnu Shirasa Chaturbhujam. Directly Pippalayan could have said that Narayan is this personality who has four-handed form, he has Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, he is having Kostubha jewel on his, on his chest. He is Narayan, and one should do bhakti for this personality. Right? When Nimi Maharaj asked this question to Pippalayan, Pippalayan told Nimi, then Nimi, you are asking about Narayan? You don't know Narayan? I know that you know Narayan. Have you not heard about Narayan? I know that you know the form of Narayan, you know the Swarupa of Narayan. You have got mantra of Narayan, you are a Vaishnava, you have got Diksha in Narayan mantra. So from your Guru you have heard about Narayan. You have heard about the form of Narayan. Why are you still asking this question? Nimi Maharaj knows the form of Narayan. Nimi Maharaj understands the Bhagavad Dharma. But there are other people who are sitting in the audience who may not have that much faith on direct process of bhakti for Bhagavan, who may be attracted to the other features of the absolute truth, that is Brahma and Paramatma. Therefore, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in commentary to this verse that when Nimi Maharaj asked this question, Pippalayan directly says that you know the form of Narayan, you have done bhakti of Narayan, you don't need to know, you understand the Swarupa of Narayan. When Pippalayan said that, Nimi Maharaj asked that, okay, I know the form of Narayan, but I also want to understand the other aspects, the other manifestations of absolute truth, that is Brahma and Paramatma. So please explain me the other manifestations of the same Narayan. And then Pippalayan started explaining from verse 35. So what is the first verse Pippalayan is using? Sthityudbhava pralaya hetura heturyasya yat swapna jagara shushuptishu sadbahishya dehendriya suhridayani charanti yena sanjivitani tadavehi param narendra. So in one verse he is actually explaining the three aspects of the absolute truth here in the first verse. Then in the 36th verse he is specifically explaining about the Brahma aspect of the Supreme Lord. So that verse which is the matter of our discussion today. So Pippalayan in this verse, in the 35th verse, he says that Narayan is that personality who is Sthiti Udbhava Pralaya Hetu, who is the cause of creation, sustenance and destruction. Sthiti Udbhava Pralaya Hetu. But he himself does not have any cause. He is without any cause. Ahetur Yasya, who does not have any cause. Swapna Jagarat Shushuptishu Sadbahishya. He is the seer and observer of the three phases of consciousness. What are the three phases of consciousness? Shushupti, Jagrit and Swapna. The three phases of consciousness, the three manifestations of consciousness. He is the seer, he is the observer of these three phases of consciousness. Not just that, he says he himself sits in Samadhi. Sadbahishya. He is always above all these three phases. He is always in Turiya Avastha. He is always in the fourth phase. He says then, Dehendriya Suhridayani Charantiyena, by whose energies, that Narayan, he is describing about Narayan, by whose potency or by whose energy, Dehendriya Suhridayani Charanti, all these senses in the bodies of the living entities, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the sense of touch, the sense of smell and all of that, they gain power, they gain, that senses work only because of his energies. So he is that Narayan. Sanjivitani tadavehi param narendra. So because of him all these senses are working in proper condition. Know, O Narendra, know him to be that absolute truth. He is Narayan. So this is what he is describing in 35th verse. Now what is he saying about 36th verse? Now specifically here in the 36th verse, King is asking about the Brahma aspect of the Supreme Lord. Who is that? Brahma. What is Brahma aspect of the Supreme Lord? We know from the Brahma Samhita. In the Brahma Samhita it is said, Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Kotishvashesha Vasudhadi Vibhuti Bhinnam Tad Brahma Nishkalam Anantam Ashesha Rupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. What is that impersonal Brahma aspect of that Supreme Lord Sri Krishna? What is that impersonal Brahman aspect? He says, Yasya Prabha Prabhavatah Jagadanda Koti. That Govinda whose Prabha means whose bodily effulgence manifests in the form of this impersonal light Brahma, because of which the entire universe is pervaded. The entire universe exists on this Brahma. The entire universe, all the universes that we are seeing. Now you just look up in the sky, you see so many stars, so many planets, galaxies and so many things, the 7 planetary systems, all of them, and not just one universe. We are talking about millions and quadrillions of universes. All these universes are resting in this aspect of the Supreme Lord. He is so great. So without understanding the greatness of the Lord, we cannot appreciate his sweetness. We have to first understand how great the Lord is, then we can truly understand how sweet he is. And therefore, these things are important. Siddhanta baliya chitta na kare alas. One should not become alasi. One should be very eager to describe Siddhanta. So here he says, Yasya Prabha Prabhavato. Who is that Brahma? What is that Brahma aspect of the Supreme Lord? Yasya Prabha. He is the Prabha of Govinda. That Govinda who is doing pastimes in Golok Vrindavan. His bodily effulgence is the impersonal light on which the entire universe is situated. All the universes are situated on Him. It is because of Him, it is because of that Brahma, all the universes are in the existence. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada gives this example to explain the three aspects of the absolute truth. He gives the example of a mountain. When you're traveling, you see a mountain at a distance, right? When you see a mountain at a distance, what do you exactly see? You see a big structure. You don't see a lot of details of the mountains, right? When you're traveling from a distance, you see that mountain. But when you come closer, when you are coming closer to that mountain, what do you see? You start seeing the trees. When you come even more closer and when you climb upon that mountain, what do you see? You see that there are trees, there are leaves, there are animals on those mountains, there are birds, there are all the variegatedness you see. So similarly, Prabhupada would explain that when that absolute truth is seen from a distance by the impersonalist, he is seen as, he looks like that mountain, like Brahma, that impersonal light, that's all. But when you come closer to him, you understand that no, he is Brahma, but he is also Paramatma sitting in everyone's heart, and he is sitting Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastha. He is sitting in every atom, and he is sitting in the space between the atom. So there is not even one kana or one speck of dust where the Lord is not situated. So the Lord is situated as impersonal Brahman, but he is also situated in each and every atom. So that is the second aspect of the Lord, that is called Paramatma aspect of the Lord. And the third aspect of the Lord is when you come very close to that Supreme Absolute Truth. When you come very close to that Supreme Absolute Truth, you see that, oh, he is that person who has a lot of madhurya also. He allows his devotees to climb upon his shoulders and dance with him. He is that Absolute Truth. So without understanding what that Absolute Truth is, what is the greatness of that personality, we will not be able to appreciate the sweetness of that Supreme Absolute Truth. And therefore it is important. In this verse, what is Pippalayan speaking? He says, Naitan mano vishati vaguta chakshuratma pranendriyani chayatha nalamarchi shashva shabdopi bodhaka nishedhatayatma mula marthokta maha yadritena nishedha siddhihi. Now this is very philosophical. He's talking about the impersonal aspect of the Lord, and he says, Na etan mano vishati vaguta chakshuratma. All these senses that we are possessing in this body, all these senses are not capable to understand and to reach that Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why that Lord is called Adhokshaja. One of the names of Sri Krishna is Adhokshaja. What is the meaning of Adhokshaja? Adhokshaja has three words that you can break it into three words: Adhaha, Aksha and Ja. Aksha means the senses. Aksha generally means the eyes, and Aksha also means all the senses. Ja means the experience born out of these senses. What is the experience born out of these senses? From eyes we can see this material world. From ears we can hear. From the skin we can touch and experience it. So Akshaja means the experience born out of the senses. And Adhokshaja, what is the meaning of Adha? Adha means below. So that personality or the experiences born out of the senses always remain below that personality. That personality is called Adhokshaja. That means the experiences born out of the senses can never capture that personality, can never touch that personality. The eyes which are material cannot see that personality of Godhead because they are material eyes. That's why he is called Adhokshaja. That's why he is Sri Krishna. So that's what is being described, that all these senses together with all their potency cannot touch the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is beyond all of these senses. Pranendriyani chayatha nalamarchishasa. The example is being given that just as the sparks of fire. So if you light fire, there are sparks coming out of it. Can the spark of fire ever lighten the fire? The fire is beyond that spark, right? Can it burn the fire? The spark has got that minute burning capacity from that fire. So can it burn that original fire? No. Can it lighten that original fire? That original fire is already enlightened, so you don't have to light it. So that is the example being given, that all these senses that we have, we possess, all of them together with all their potencies cannot touch the impersonal aspect of the Lord. So that aspect which is very, very far, that cannot be touched by all of these senses, then what to speak of the supreme absolute truth, Bhagwan aspect of that absolute truth. Can that Shyamasundar be understood through the eyes, ears, nose, senses, on all of this? No, he cannot be understood. So the question arises that if he cannot be understood by the eyes, if he cannot be seen through the eyes, he cannot be touched through the senses, he cannot be smelled through the nose that we possess, how do we actually achieve him? This is the question. And another point that is being raised here, he cannot be understood through words. Now we are all sitting down in Bhagavatam classes just to hear some words from the Vedic literature so as to understand that supreme absolute truth. And here Bhagavatam is saying that words cannot express that supreme personality of Godhead. So what do we do? So Shrutis cannot express that supreme personality of Godhead, and therefore the Shrutis always use negative sentences to express that absolute truth. They say that the Lord does not have eyes, ears, he does not have form, he cannot be understood through all these senses and all of that. All these negations are what they are meant for. They are actually meant to lead us to that supreme personality of Godhead. The negation is not there just to tell you that the Supreme Lord does not exist, the absolute truth does not exist. It is there to help us, to lead us to that point. And that is why this is being expressed here, that even the material words cannot express the Supreme Lord. Then how do we understand? This is the exact same question that is raised in the 87th chapter of the Bhagavatam. That if Shrutis and if material words cannot express the Supreme Lord, how the living entities would ever be able to understand the Supreme Lord depending upon the Vedas and the Shrutis and the Upanishads? The answer is given because the Lord is very merciful. Giving us all these senses, he also gives us the potency to understand him through these senses. If the Lord can create the senses, he also has the potency to create a potency by which we can understand him through these senses. That is the answer given in the 87th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. If the Lord has ability to create the senses, can he not create an ability by which we can understand him? Yes, he can create. And therefore Bhagavatam expresses this in one very beautiful verse. Martyo yada tyakta samasta karma niveditatma vichikirshato me tada mrittatvaya vikalpate vai. Bhagavatam expresses that when a living entity starts performing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Although we are using our material senses to express this holy name, although we are using our material ears to hear the qualities of the Lord, but all of these qualities of the Lord, the names of the Lord and his gunas, his leelas of the Lord are so potent that even touching these material ears, they purify these material ears. And the more, to the degree we surrender unto that Supreme Lord, to that degree these ears and eyes and nose and skin and all of the senses that we possess in this body, they become purified so much so that they can help us understand the Supreme Lord. The Lord will come in front of these eyes when these eyes become purified. And that is what is being expressed in the purport also, that the Lord is so merciful that he gives us all these senses by which we can perform his bhakti. And when we perform his bhakti, he becomes visible in front of a devotee. And then when a devotee sees the Lord, he says, my Lord, when I was imagining or when I was meditating upon your form, I was thinking of a lotus petal, or I was thinking your body is like lotus, and I was always thinking of material lotus, because all we can experience is a material lotus. But now I understand, by seeing the form of the Lord, the devotee starts paying obeisances and asking forgiveness that I compared you with material objects. But you are always beyond all these material objects. Therefore, the conclusion is that by the process of bhakti, the senses are purified, and these senses become so much so purified that although the Lord who is beyond the senses comes in contact of the senses and gives us his darshan and becomes visible to the eyes of even the sadhakas who perfect their life in bhakti. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,